Hello friends. Woo. Gotta be careful with this table today, lots of wet stuff on here. So I'm making a tiny batch of soap, and the reason I'm doing this is because I'm attempting to demonstrate how easy it is to make soap. Um, if you've never made soap, or if you never thought about making soap because you don't know about it, then maybe this video will inspire you to make some soap. Because soap is one of the things that we use every single day. And the soap that we're using, the commercial soaps from the store, are just heavily contaminated with all kinds of nastiness. So it is a good thing to know how to make soap. The soap that I'm making here, you can use for your laundry. You can use for, not really for dishes. I tried it, but it tastes like soap. So you don't want that soap taste on your dishes, which I'm sure some of you have ran out of dish soap and used shampoo instead, and it was just like, ugh. So, but you can use it for laundry and, for laundry and just, for general cleaning purposes, as well as for your body and for your hair. So I got my protective stuff around my face here because we're going to be working with sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is lye. It's 100% lye, as you can see here. This used to be sold in the grocery store. It's a drain opener. It's a natural drain opener. It's good. It's not bad for your drain. It won't harm your drain if you live in an old house. But I haven't been able to find it in the grocery store for a long time, so I just order it off of eBay, Amazon, whatever. And this is 16 ounces, and this is like $8. And with this much lye, you can make this much will make soap for a whole year. I no longer use the whole container because I like to experiment now, but you can use this whole container of soap, of lye, and make a huge batch of soap. So the recipe today is going to be a very simple ratio that I'm going to give you. This is an outline, okay? This is not a specific recipe for a specific thing. This is just something very, very basic that will make soap. You can get more fancy and intricate with the recipes as you go along. So what I'm doing is showing that all you need are these three things. Get that in the picture, this in the picture, and this in the picture. So the three things that you need for soap, like I said, is going to be sodium hydroxide. That's one of the ingredients. That's a very strong alkali substance. So if that splashes on you, you'll get a scab. It'll just burn a little hole in your skin and you'll have a scab. It's happened to me many times. So I'm trying to be more prudent about that now. So that's the sodium hydroxide. This is the fat. You're gonna need some fat. Now this what I have in here, these are all saturated fats. This is cocoa butter, butter, cocoa butter, cow butter, and coconut oil. Okay, so I got 3 different saturated fats in here because I want my soap to be hard pretty quickly. If you use soap that has soft oil, like olive oil, it takes longer to cure. So just keep that in mind when you're making your soap. But you can use any fat. You can even use milk. And then you need water. Okay? And the water that you want to use, it should be cold. It should be very cold, like ice cold. So you should have it in the fridge overnight, or you can put an ice cube in it, whatever, to make it cold. And the ratio for this is 4 parts fat. Okay, so the fat is the most, abundant of the ingredients. 1 part lye, sodium hydroxide, and 1 part water. That's it. Okay? 4, 1, and 1. That's simple. So the first thing you want to do is get your lye together. And you want to use stuff that's not metal. Okay, so you want to use plastic stuff because the lye is going to react with anything that's metal. And if you use wood, because I had a wooden stick, and because I read I was being romantic, because like back in the day they used to use a branch from a sassafras tree, and the sassafras branch would smell so nicely and it would repel insects. So they used the sassafras branch back in the day when they would make soap, and they would make soap outside. So my branch, what was a wooden stirring spoon, and that spoon got totally corroded and eaten up by the lye. So now I just use a plastic stuff. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to mix your lye with the water. Okay? And I feel like you're supposed to pour the lye into the water, and I'm doing it backwards. But I'm just doing it backwards, you know? So we'll see what happens. But here we go. This is the lye into the water. And you just want to stir it. It's going to get hot, and it's going to have some fumes. And it might be too hot for this flimsy little plastic thing. So let me get something a little stronger. Yeah, you can see it totally corroded the plastic here. So don't put it in a flimsy thing like that. Make sure it's in something stronger. But you just want to dissolve the lye. You want to have a window open when you do this, because it's very strong and it will irritate you. This is a tiny batch, so I don't really care right now. Usually I make much bigger batches, but I'm just doing this to show you how easy it is. Just to demonstrate real quick. So you just want to stir this and stir it until everything is dissolved. You don't see any more Now I lost some of the lye with that container, so I'm going to pour out some of my fat. Just a little bit. Because you have to have the right lye to fat ratio, or else your soap will be too greasy. And it might not lather up all that good. But if you put too much lye in your soap, then your soap is going to be harsh. Excuse me. Your soap will be very harsh, and it's gonna dry your skin. I've made that mistake before, where I made the soap too strong. But if you make it too weak, then it won't lather real good. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen with your soap. So you want to try to have a recipe. There are thousands of them online. Recipes are amazing. I haven't had any bad luck with the recipe. But when I just wing it, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't go exactly as planned when I just wing it. But whatever. It's soap, Once you understand the dynamics of soap, then you don't really worry about it, because basically what you're doing is you're taking something that's very basic. This has a very high pH. The pH of lye is probably the highest of any pH that you can imagine. It's like comparable to the pH of your bile. The pH of your bile is also very, very high, and that's why when you eat fat, your body secretes bile in order to break down that fat, in order to emulsify that fat, because bile is very alkaline. So this is a very alkaline substance. Now the fat, on the other hand, the fat is very the fat is made of fatty acids. So this is irritating my throat. So the fatty acids, I think that's good enough. The fatty acids react with the lye. So the lye reacts with the fatty acids, and that's called saponification, and that's where you get soap. Soap comes from that combination of fatty acids, so acids and alkaline mixed together. So if you do make your soap too strong, like I've done before lots of times, then you're going to end up with a situation where you have to add more fat, and you can do that later because it's a pH issue. If the pH of your soap is too high, you can chip that soap. Well, actually, I learned to chip the soap when I make it too strong. I chip it and make it into washing powders, and it cleans really good for the clothes. But you can take some of that washing powders and you can dilute that with water and turn it back into a substance like this. Although it does have some oil in it because you were trying to make soap, but you can just add a little bit of fat to that, and it'll help to mellow it out and help to make the soap more mild. So I'm gonna pour out some of this fat because I think this might be too much now. Okay. Let's see exactly how much was on here. I don't even know because it literally ate right through the plastic. I can't even tell what's plastic or what's lye because that thing is just totally ate up. So be careful with the lye. I usually use glass containers for all this, but not today. Get rid of this. So what I'm waiting for now, I'm waiting for the stuff to cool down. The oils, these fats are saturated fat, so I had to heat these a little in order to melt them, but you don't want them too hot, because it takes longer for your soap to saponify. But I could already see at the bottom of this bowl that my fat is starting to come back together again, and I don't want that. I want it to stay melted. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour the lye in, and this is it. This is all it is. You pour the lye into the fat, not the other way around. People always emphasize that. I forgot to wear the glasses. That would have helped me a lot when I was pouring that lye. That was the whole point. So you just want to pour the lye into the fat and stir. That's all there is to it. Now you can I don't need these. I missed my moment to use the goggles. But you still don't even want to splash this on you, because if you get this on you, it's gonna burn a hole like that plastic box over there. So you got to stir this for at least 15 minutes. Now you can use an immersion blender here. I choose not to because the lye, the metal blades from the blender interacts with the lye, and it's going to end up you're going to end up with metal in your soap. So I try to limit my exposure to heavy metals. So that's why I'm just doing it by hand with a plastic utensil. So I'll be right back.
Okay, so I've been stirring for about 30 minutes. Ideally, you want your soap to trace, meaning that when you pull your utensil out and you drizzle it, that it kind of sits on top of there. And as you can see, mine is not tracing. Because I lost a lot of lye in that plastic container, my soap is going to not really be that hard. And it's also not going to be extremely potent, but it will harden, but it's just going to be kind of a soft soap. So that was a good lesson learned. Never pour lye into a really soft plastic container. So I'm going to stop with this now. I'm going to stop stirring, and I'm going to go ahead and pour this into my mold. Now you can use any mold that suits your fancy. I'm using a butter boat here because this is butter soap, and it's going to be relatively oily, which I like because it leaves a residue of oil on me, so I don't really have to use lotion afterwards, and I like that. But it also makes your bathtub a little oily, so you know, it's fun to make soap because you get to really experience the different effects that different soaps can have. And this soap is going to make 2 bars, so when it gets hard I'll just cut it in half, and I'll do an update video when that time comes. Thank you for watching and happy soap making. Once your soap is poured into the mold, you're going to want to cover it with something that breathes. You don't want the covering to stop the soap from breathing any air because it needs to breathe. But you do want to make sure that you keep the heat in because it's still pretty warm, and the heat is what helps with the saponification, especially after the first, say, 24 hours. During the first 24 hours is when the soap is going to be getting hard. So you want to make sure that this lid stays on there during that first 24 hours. And really you can keep it on there for as long as you want. As time goes by, the soap gets more mellow. So this soap is already mellow. So I'm not going to keep this lid on. I'll probably use this soap in like a couple days, because after that it's going to be just too mild to really use for my body, although I could use it on my face and on my hair still. So that's that.
Hello there. So I got my soap. It's done. This soap has been sitting for about 2 days, and the funny thing about this is that it started to get very hard right away, and that's probably because I used only saturated fats. Like cocoa butter is very, very saturated, so that's a very hard oil. So you would expect that to kind of go back to its normal state after it's been heated. And I use butter, cow butter, and coconut oil as well. And all 3 of those are solid at room temperature. So I wanted it to get firm, but wow, it got firm really quickly. So this is the soap. This is my butter soap. It looks like a stick of butter. Ha 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 ha. I used a butter mold for the soap, and I used it this morning. It's kind of drying, and I think it's because I had that little meltdown with the plastic container. I made a mistake, and the soap is not messed up, but it is a little harsh. It's a bit harsh, so it requires, you know, you're going to need to moisturize quite a bit when you're done using this particular soap, which you never will because you don't even know the recipe to this soap. This is just a random soap that I made to show how easy it is to make soap. It smells magnificent. It smells really nice, really clean, very cocoa buttery. What else? I make mistakes all the time making soap, and I like making mistakes. Making soap is like an experimental trial and error. You know, there's really no consequences for making a mistake except for that you learn something and you get better and better as time goes on. And this soap is going to get more and more mellow as time goes on. So if I put this in a warm place, or if I covered this back up with the towel how I had it, and left it for like a week or something, it would be much more mellow. And it will be mellow because it's going to be in my shower. So over time, you know, the lye starts to mellow out, and the fat starts to, you know, starts to bleed out a little more. So it does become more mellow over time. So I don't consider this a failure. It works. It cleans really well, and it lathers really, really nicely. I think I might have a bit much coconut oil in here because you don't want more than 30% coconut oil in your soap, or else it's gonna have that drying quality. But you want the coconut oil because coconut oil lathers really well. So that's it for the soap video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you understand that it's your soap and it's your fun, and just do what you want, you know? I recommend getting a book, actually, because it really opens your mind to the possibilities about soap. Thank you for watching.